All right. Are we live?
Yeah.
Are we good?
Yeah, we're live. Just need to link it up
Okay.
and stuff. One sec.
Sounds good.
경기 김민철 선수와 김범수 선수의 경기부터 함께 하시죠. 일단은 사실 링 위에 많이 서본 선수인 김민철 선수가 들어와서 기다리고 있고 이제 김범수 선수가 들어왔습니다.
그리고 오늘은 좀 변수가 있을 것 같은 게 신맵 투입이잖아요. 그렇죠. 분명히
오케이.
어느 정도 좀 센스도 많이 필요하고 좀 약간 순발력이라든지 이런 게 되게 중요한 한 주가 될 거예요.
네. 자, 준비 끝났다는 콜드.
All right. We ready to start?
Yep. Let's get it.
Okay.
그렇습니다. 7주차 1경기 김민철 선수와 김범수 선수의 경기부터 함께 하시죠.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the KCM. We've got a brand new map pool today. Oh, I think it's frozen. Hold on a second. Yeah, OBS just froze. Shit.
Oof.
자, KCM 종족 최강전 이제 얼마 남지 않은 2024 세 번째 시즌의 7주차 1경기 출발했습니다.
Is it doing?
야, 데자뷰라는 맵을 이제 시청자분들 그리고 아프리카 TV
It unfroze. What's going on? I can't click full screen mode
배워가야 되거든요.
Oh
to
shit.
show it to you.
맵이 나오면은 처음에는 조금 어색해.
That's a bit odd.
이게 어떤 컨셉의
I'll have to restart OBS.
경기가 펼쳐지는지.
Give me a minute.
I can give you two.
Very, very generous of you, Shun. All right, let's see. Okay. Please work.
원까지 정도도 하고
1승 어느 정도 좀 센스도 많이 필요하고
Alright.
약간 순발력이라든지 이런 게 되게 중요한 한 주가 될 거예요.
네. 자, 준비 끝났다는 콜 들어왔습니다. 7주차 1경기 김민철 선수와 김범수 선수의 경기부터 함께 하시죠.
We Gucci man?
Yeah, we're
Oh,
about
did you
to start.
literally just hit start? My bad.
그리고 오늘은 좀 변수가 있을 것 같은 게 신맵 투입이잖아요. 그렇지. 분명히 변수가 있습니다. 어느 정도 좀 센스도 많이 필요하고 좀 약간 순발력이라든지 이런 게 되게 중요한 한 주가 될 거예요.
네. 자, 준비 끝났다는 콜 들어왔습니다. 7주차 1경기 김민철 선수와 김범수 선수의 경기부터 함께 하시죠.
And here we go with week number 7 of the KCM. 2024 Season 3. I'm really excited to show you guys the brand new map pool as we get started here. Soul Key versus Noob for game number 1. Let's go. Here is the lineup. Sharp Royal Barracks Best, Noob, Queen Soul Key Action. Yes, we are missing a Protoss player today.
Yeah, that is interesting to say the least. The KCM this season is just full of surprises.
Yeah, totally. I don't know what's going on over there in the Protoss squad, or what's happening. Like, if there's a conflict of schedules or something, but you know, we've got these amazing lineups for both the other two squads. What happened to Protoss? I really don't know.
Yeah, I mean, it looks like they just like ran out of professional players and just brought out their best noob one, you know?
Yeah, and I imagine Snow, I thought that he would be back this week, but maybe that disappointment still hurting him from week number 6. It was such a fun week, but it's such a painful week, I think, for Snow.
Yeah, I mean, it was a bittersweet for sure. Like, you had that great performance. That games 1 and 2 were absolutely insane. I've never seen games that like get traded down and grinded down to like a nub in that way, quite in such a spectacular fashion as we saw. And he went on such a great run, but then kind of got his spirits crushed in the end. And recently, I saw him have not too good of a run against Flash on the ladder as well. They played 2 games on the ladder, Snow losing both, and then they played some customs after that, and Snow lost every single game after that. And he was just hands in his face, just looking devastated and very unlike himself for a good like 20, 30 minutes before he even like managed to queue up for ladder again.
I mean, I imagine the exact same scene after watching his teammates throw on Troy in the finals of KCM. The money just slipping through his fingers after putting up such a great performance. Must have been heart-wrenching in both cases, but he's not going to be here today. Instead, we've got Noob in the lineup, and Soul Key is actually opening with a 9 pool. He extractor tricked out an extra drone, and he will be sending 6 links across the map. So let's see if Noob's prepared for this.
I mean, this is only really like hard shut down by like Forge Expand into like, you know, having 2 cannons on time, or your cannon and some probes blocking on time. Like, this is not the dumbest thing to go for Soul Key. It's like, it's safe against any kind of early shenanigans, and it also allows you to put on some pressure. And then with the gateway first, like, it does kind of force Noob to be very passive, at least initially, to worry about this, because he doesn't want to let these lings get into his main at all.
That's right, and he's going to be pulling quite a few probes. He's not taking the standard measure. Oh, he loses one of the probes already. That is rough. He's not taking the standard measure, which is 1 zealot on the ramp with a probe, and then the other zealot out here fighting, and that might come to bite him in the back. Oh, he's going to actually turn around. I thought that Soul Key was going to make a run for it there, but he takes a look at the probes on the ramp and decides that Noob has held well enough. Now there's a zealot on the ramp. Probe on the other side of the map gets cleared, and now 2 zealots here should be able to stop this.
Yeah, I mean, like, this is a nice little opening gambit from Soul Key. It's nothing too serious. Just getting 1 single probe kill is great compensation for going for these early lings, and he's just going to be applying pressure to Noob and trying to slow down the timings just a little bit, but I'm probably not going to see anything too crazy. I don't imagine that we're going to see Soul Key hard commit to this, but it's still possible he could just ling flood at any moment if he so choosed.
That's right. Well, with 3 zealots out now, Noob's turn to put on the pressure a little bit. This is a lot of links, but it's not enough to handily beat this. Unless he gets a great surround, he gets a pretty decent one on that first zealot, but doesn't take many hit points off of that. It will regenerate in shields here slowly over time as Noob tries to push across. He actually will follow the links as they come back. Cannot allow these links to jump on top of the pylon. That could be really, really painful.
And even just getting some damage done on that gateway can spell disaster later on. Eventually, you can just blow the wall up, maybe before the cannons are warping in with a big ling flood, and Protoss won't be able to do much about that. Right now, though, he looks like he's not really committed to any transitions in his tech just yet. I'm curious to see if we see that lair started now. He has the resource to do so, but I doubt he'll be going for that. He's much more likely to get ling speed and get just some zerglings right now.
Yeah, it's 3 zealot make their way into the main base. They are going to take a trade here against these links. Oh my god, is the gateway actually going to fall? He's targeting it. He gets it. He could run by into the main as well. That is huge. Getting the full scout. Potential for probe damage here in the main and the gateway kill. At least the cybernetics core started here for Noob.
Yeah, and we do see that lair on the way. I'm not sure if he went link speed into lair or the other way around, but yeah, with the 2 links in the main, can be very annoying if he's on top of his multitasking. You can kill quite a few probes, and if Noob is, inversely not so on top of his task switching, yeah, it's really frustrating. Like, even just the psychological games of, like, having to flick it back and forth while you're losing your probes, and you're losing a bit of mining time, and, just trying to clear everything up while Zerg is just now able to, like, start throwing out as many units or drones as they want. He's got 3 hatcheries online. He can start to saturate the 3rd base. He could even just choose to, like, play completely macro from this point onwards and still have a little bit of an edge to work with.
Definitely has an edge at this point. Sulky starts his Spire. He's continuing to keep these Lings alive in the main and look for damage on these probes. So far, Noob's done a pretty good job of tracking those and making sure that they don't kill any probes, but eventually you're going to slip, and Sulky will never slip with these Lings. He's going to continue to move them. He does get a probe there, so a little bit of a slip up by Noob, and Sulky continues to control this base.
Yeah, I mean, Sulky's not far from, like, the supply count either. Like, usually you'd see Protoss with a tiny bit more of a bit of a canyon here starting to grow, and as the gateways came online later, there'd be even bigger of a gap. But right now, the gap is, like, almost non-existent. He's been picking off these probes, like, here at a time, and look at this, these supplies even. This is kind of like, yeah, seeming to seem like Sulky's early game advantage is slightly snowballing, killing additional probes with those first 2 Lings, and maybe 3 kills on that Zergling is insane.
He's done so much damage here just with these 2 Lings in the main. Plus, I mean, killing the early gateway and slipping by was a fantastic move. Oh, is he going to get this last one? One more attack? No. Not quite able to get it. Back at home though, Sulky, after killing that gateway, he's just been able to drone absolutely non-stop. He's got enough Lings he knows to handle just 1 gateway's worth of production at the front. After it finished, I mean, it takes a long time to increment out these zealots enough to actually fight the Lings that were made to deal with the counterattack from Noob earlier. Oh, is he going to get the surround on this? This is huge. Getting another zealot here before +1 or speed comes in. That's going to drastically lower the actual damage potential of this move out that's coming soon. Oh, and he loses his Corsair too. Dude, Noob is getting completely slapped here. Sulky being sent out first actually turns out to be a great idea for the Zerg lineup.
It's actually kind of insane thinking about it. Like, Sulky's like really dismantling Noob right now, and I've been quite impressed by his gameplay. I think one critical factor actually choosing to break open the gateway wall really cut into the zealot production for enough time that, like, there was really not much window for Noob to kind of reinsert himself into this game, and I think his mid-game timings will just be so ruined now as a result, and he can't even really produce Corsairs safely, and as a result we may just see an Ogre Zerg play from Sulky where he chooses to make a small fleet of Scourge and quite a lot of Mutas to come in here and maybe just bowl Noob over potentially.
That is a possibility, although we only have 2 gases at the moment. It'll be a little bit difficult to pump out the required number of Mutas and Scourge to make that happen, but Sulky could easily add on those resources. So far, though, just pumping out Hydra. Is he actually going to go and try to bust this, end this game early? He's denied Noob map vision for so long. Noob might expect, 1 regular mass Hydra play off of 6 hatch. Do we actually have 6 hatches already? Dude, Sulky is so good at macro, I wouldn't put it past him. He's been able to, put on so much pressure with the Lings, kill the gateway, get in there, deal a bunch of damage, and still get, layer, Spire out, and now he's got Hydras coming into the front. This DT is actually saving the day right now, though.
Yeah, it's going to buy him a lot of time. I don't think Sulky even has Overlord. Yeah, he doesn't have Overlord speed yet. It's going to be some time before he can, like, try and bait that DT into that Overlord, maybe. You might get it now, actually.
Oh!
Okay, now he catches it, so now you just go. Okay, and Overlord speed is finished up as well, so this is a critical timing. I think Storm should just barely be done right now, but there's only 1 High Templar that I can see. There's 2, okay, but it's still not going to be the greatest of timings of here for Noob to be able to defend this. I think he's still not got his energy or Storm just yet finished up. Just a few more precious seconds. Only 1 cannon is finished in that that line, a few going up, but all this SimCity of the Protoss is now being used against him as he can't get his Zealots out to get surface area against these. Finally, the Storm comes out, gets a pretty good one, taking about 5 of the Hydralisks there. Another good Storm, but I mean, there's no more Storm banked up, so what you see is what you get. If Sulky can come in here, maybe even pick off the Forge, there's not going to be enough to stop him, I don't think.
No, I think he will get the Forge for sure. The cannon placement turned out to be pretty good from Noob. It was very hard for Sulky to get in close enough to start to hit those, with Zealots blocking the little corners there, blocking the entrances into the base. But yeah, absolutely should be able to kill this. Now, is it in time to stop the upgrade? The upgrade just stopped right now. Did he cancel or did he get it? He got it. So that's actually pretty important. Noob gets the upgrade and he holds on against this Hydralisk attack. It's not an all-in though. Sulky hit this after he got 6 hatches and a really good economy. He can add on a few more drones, take a 4th base, and be completely fine.
Yeah, did he get it, or was he researching plus armor after that? I can't remember the timings of when he got the initial upgrade.
I'm not sure about that. We've got 2 more Forges spinning here in the main base. That's going to be +2 attack and +1 armor. +1 attack is done here for Sulky. And he's just going to back away, set up a soft contain at the front of Noob's base, and try to pick off any Templar if a move out does happen here. Oh, Dark Archon added on. Noob expecting a switch into Mutalisk tech here. Do you think that's what Sulky might be planning?
I mean, I think that's what Sulky's representing, and I think that, yeah, I think we're gonna be seeing it. Yeah, for sure.
Wow.
Look, we see quite a few moves being made right now. I mean, that's certainly what Sulky was definitely trying to represent. Whether or not he was definitely going for that, it does the stars are seeming to align for that, and he does indeed want to be committing into at least a small enough force of Mutants to put on some pressure. There's only like 2 Corsairs finished right now, but the 2 cannons in the main will be able to buy a little bit of time here with the aid of these Corsairs. One of them was already low, so only that one single Scourge was actually able to pick it off. So it's actually a breakable position now for Sulky. 1 Corsair, 1 cannon won't be enough to stop those 6 Mutas. So it's a little bit frustrating, honestly, for Noob. Like, he wants to make an Archon now. He has got this Dark Archon waiting, but he's going to be baiting out Storms and putting on a lot of pressure, lost mining time, getting some of these High Templars sniped off. Like, nothing is going to be good for Noob. Even if he does somehow clean this up and deals with this, he's already lost way too much these initial 6 Mutas.
This is the backbreaking loss right now for Noob. He is getting absolutely dismantled by Sulky in game number 1, and the Protoss squad is not looking very healthy this week, Shun.
Their best Noob's
I can't believe they were sent. I can't believe they were sent out first to go. I mean, I believe that the thought process is, you know, whoever wins last week will go, you know, have the 3rd spot, so they will be able to, you know, miss the first game. Oh my god, that is a huge maelstrom, and that storm is insanely good. Every single Muta probably going to go down here. These are so low. Will he get 1 more Templar for his time, though? I mean, they've already done so much damage. He certainly shouldn't. Okay, he does get that 1 last kill. Pretty good for Sulky, regardless of that huge maelstrom.
Yeah, I mean, he's actually still about even on supply with Noob at 13 minutes, which is very indicative of a strong Zerg lead. So, yeah, well, it's not going to be good either way. Like, we'd have to see some miracles here for Noob to kind of claw his way back in this game. We need to see, like, you know, brilliant storms, Sulky kind of messing up his positioning of the Hydras a little bit. But yeah, at the moment, Sulky will not allow Noob to gain a critical mass of goons to break out. He's just going to be like skirmishing, baiting out storms, microing back, picking off goons here and there, and just keeping this force of Noob small enough that he can continue to engage it. We do see the +2 upgrades on the Hydras finished now. 1-1-1 on these Protoss units. So he's gone for the shield upgrades to help give the Archons a bit more meat as well. But beautiful storm at the northern flank. So many Hydras getting absolutely blanketed in it. But it doesn't matter. There's not enough juice in the tank, and Sulky just going to press the issue forward, and yeah, like I said, just skirmish with the Protoss, bait out the storms, go in, pick up the units, and keep the army small enough, keep the head of the dragon not too big so that you can just cut it off later.
Oh my goodness, this 4th base is completely saturated already for Sulky, so somewhere in between making those Mutas and making this massive Hydralisk army, he managed to sneak out a big group of drones and saturate that. It's just, to my Protoss, or my Zerg brain, it just doesn't even make sense how he managed to do all this at the same time, but he's absolutely forced himself into an amazing position here. Sulky Gonna surround this army. It's tucked into a very tight corner. This is exactly what he was waiting for, what he was looking for. No more storm available here, and these dragoons are gonna get completely destroyed.
Yeah, I mean, Noob just doesn't have enough gas to work with. I mean, not just the gas in his resources, but literally the gas in his own, like, humane body. That's just not able to keep up with the godlike macro of Sulky. It really does feel like you're watching, like, a mortal try and fight at least a demigod or something. Like, it's just the absolute scales of balance are just completely off for Noob from the start of this game. Sulky's been in complete dominant control from the start, and you have to kind of wonder what is going on in the Protoss dugout to even be in the situation. GG finally called, not too much of a surprise, I have to say, but really great performance from Sulky nonetheless, kind of giving a bit of a masterclass in how to get control of the pace of the game in ZDP and clutch out the win.
Right. We didn't even have a chance to talk about the map in that game.
No.
Alright, let's cross out this boy.
Yeah, it's push to talk, so I have to like push here to. Alright. Cool, sir. Appreciate it. If you're staying for a bit, then were you up for watching the other house stream?
OBS is gonna crash again. Hello?
Yep. You almost said what you said?
Okay. OBS is having a hard time.
Oh.
Something's going on with my computer. Yeah, OBS is crashing. Here, hold on. Let me restart my computer.
Yeah, do your thing, man. If you need to restart.
Something's going wrong. Something's going on.
No worries, I'm chilling. He's got to restart his computer.
Hello? Hello?
Yeah, I'm here, buddy.
Oh. Okay. Oh, we're going right to kickback.
Kick it back. Kickback to kickback. Maybe the script writers like couldn't figure out how to make last week more crazy in terms of the just straight up execution gameplay, but now we got like weirdness with the maps and now the Protoss lineup and stuff, you know, different kind of script going on.
Yeah, gotta throw in some curveballs here for the audience.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
They can't make it too predictable.
All right, can you see this?
Yeah, we Gucci, man.
Okay, let's just quick sound test again. Hello.
Test, test, test. 1 2 1 2. KCM with CNSC.
All right, just make sure that we don't fuck it up.
Just make sure you actually record. That'd be a good start.
Yeah. True. That's not good. I couldn't hear your voice.
Wait, really? You serious?
1 second. Something's wrong. I can't hear anything.
What? Shit.
I'm gonna check.
Check the original.
Put it in DaVinci. Check it in DaVinci Resolve. See if it's.
Yeah. And did you check the recording we just did as well?
Yeah, I didn't hear anything.
Shit.
Let's quickly check this.
I mean, you could pull the audio from my game, my stream, if you had to.
On a moment here.
Although you may hear me talk to my cousin a little bit at some point, you might have to edit out. There might have been like, well, my mic wasn't.
Something's wrong with my sound.
Moment, because like, no, that was muted. Then, but before that, when you got here.
Ah. Okay, yeah, it's working. Never mind. Just my fucking headphones were not working. Steel Series Sonar came in and stole the audio. Anyway, are we good?
Yeah, we're good.
All right, let's go.
했습니다. 근데 뭐 사실상 김지성 선수 대 김민철 선수는
Okay, no real surprise there. Noob goes out first. We didn't even get a chance to talk about the map, Shun. That was Deja Vu. Kind of a normal-ish map with some interesting little twists, but this map that we're looking at right now, Kickback, is pretty insane.
Yeah, it is pretty wild. So let's just kick back to some Kickback scene and talk a little bit about it. It's kind of got that like sort of like Coliseum vibe with this neutral sunken in the choke point that only really like spawns creep in for the Zerg players so they can creep up their choke while taking these expansions. So it does allow you to be defensive while also being a bit greedy. So very strong Zerg macro builds on this map. We may see a crazy Zerg out of Soul Key as a result. Well, inversely, looks like he just wants to wall in. But yeah, what do you think about this map, saying? Because it is pretty wild.
I think it's pretty crazy that we can grab 3 gases on one base as Zerg, but there is that mitigating factor that the gas geysers only have 3,000, I believe it is, gas in each of them. So quite a bit less gas for the Zerg to work with. It's like a large influx, but then it drops off significantly before it would regularly. 21 minutes is when we think about the natural usually running out for the Zerg player, but here it's going to happen a lot quicker.
Well, it's roughly like 18 minutes of mining, and usually you're getting your gas about 2-3 minutes into the game kind of thing or whatever.
Right.
So yeah, about 18 minutes worth. So instead you've got like just 10 minutes of gas in the tank to work with. You get 300 gas a minute. It's 100 gas per drone with 3 mining. You basically get just under 300 a minute, depending on how optimal the gas placement is.
That's right. And we're gonna actually have a gas opener here. You were talking about this when we were discussing kickback before, that probably Terran players are gonna have to do some teched out things to try and prevent Zergs from just going into something like pure crazy Zerg on 3 gas, or just hiding bases around the map, because there are so many different bases that you can take on this map with gas.
Absolutely, you have to do something. So we might see like lotto drop ships, we might see a fast mech switch, or even just straight into mines. Not necessarily a mech switch, but just getting mines early on from the bio initial play or what have you. And yeah, we might see biomech builds where you making like 2 or 3 factories worth of tanks with your bioforce, all kinds of craziness, because yeah, you don't want to just let the Zerg get away with murder here. Because if you do just let the Zerg sit back and macro up on these 3 gases, I mean, sky's the limit for Sulky here, and he is a very strong macro player. I really highly doubt Royal has the game plan of letting Sulky do what he wants on this map.
No, absolutely not. He's going to want to get in here and deal some damage early on. We've got double factory. All right, a mech play. There we go.
Yeah.
Yeah, this makes sense. On this map, you can get those 3 gases yourself. If you are going for something way stronger than what the Zerg player can push out on 3 gases, then you don't really mind if the Zerg just gets those easy 3 bases, because you're going to have a way better army.
Yeah, a mech is just so strong that 3 base Terran can handle 5 base Zerg. It's like ridiculous how strong Terran mech is against Zerg if you know how to play it, and the map geometry kind of allows for it. There's certain maps where mech is just very challenging to play on. You can pretty much play mech on most maps, it's just that certain maps can make it a little bit trickier to execute. But this map is actually really picture perfect to play mech on, having this easy to take 3rd base, not having to worry about that. A lot of the problems with Terran mech can be stemming from your early decision making and when you move out with your army. Say you move out onto the map with your Goliaths just as he backstabs you or what have you, and you kind of get abused in terms of mobility early on, and you just can't get the 3rd base up online and that kind of thing. This map, not so much. Like much easier to secure this 3rd base for Royal, so he's going to be really comfortable just putting on the pressure here to Sulky as well. And I think this might be actually maybe slightly Royal favored, actually. Like, I'm kind of liking Royal's chances more than Sulky, thinking about it.
You know what I think Royal's doing? He's getting speed. He's going to have 4 vultures coming out here. He's pushing back the one single Ling with the Marines here to try and hide this play. Yeah, Sulky has no idea. This is going to be a massive run by. Just 2 sunken colonies here at the front. The Spire's not done. Unlikely that we have Burrow here. And he's just going to go for the run by right now. Lings are getting in the way. Nice. He picks off 1, but 3 vultures in the main is a disaster scenario.
Yeah, you can 3-shot drones. I mean, you can 2-shot them if the fragmentation grenades land at the same time. But with 3, like, you got a lot of damage output, and he's going to potentially kill quite a lot of Sulky's economy. And he doesn't have to kill much. He just has to put a dent into him. And he's gotten in! He's gotten in! Sulky could have easily body blocked that with some more drones being a bit more tactically positioned. But now Roy's going to have a field day. He knows there's a few more precious seconds before this sunken finishes up. He's going to get a lot of damage with these fragmentation grenades on those vultures just before it does so. But yeah, and the reason why he didn't put his vultures behind the minerals is because he knows there's muters popping out, guys. So he has to try and kill the drones now before the muters just clean up for free.
Final vulture gets clean, but the damage that's been done already is putting Royal into such a nice spot. This 3-base mech play is looking better and better, Shun. It's like, how do you even get in here and deal any damage? He will have Goliaths. He doesn't have any turrets is the one thing that's a little bit worrying, but
yeah.
As the Goliaths start to increment out here and the Karam Booster upgrade finishes, I don't know if Sulky will be able to deal too much damage here in the main. He's even going to fly in, take a bunch of damage, and then fly out. This is not a great start for Sulky.
Yeah, as we can see, he's not really mining optimally right now. Like, he has 2 gases, and he has, like, no one on gas right now, because he's just trying to stabilize his economy from that devastating Vulture speedrun by. I mean, inversely, we don't see a 2nd base yet for Royal, but it's not too much of an issue. As long as he can prevent Sulky having the resources available to get a critical mass of muters, he can't actually come in here and finish off Royal. If this wasn't the case, if, say, a few drones weren't killed or disrupted in their mining just now, Sulky could have easily just gone all in 2H muter and just just finished off Royal because he only has 2 factory worth of production and no turrets. So yeah, at the moment, like Royal just kind of like dancing with death. Just barely got the damage done that he needed to, and now won't be able to be punished so easily, and just going to resecure this natural while Sulky takes his third. So we may see a much more methodical, slower paced game from this point onwards.
I think this is massive Giga Brain from Royal.
Yeah,
The fact that he didn't build any turrets here.
I think
He
so.
knows Sulky and his style, and he knows that like a lot of Zerg players, if they take that damage from vultures, they will just all in. They will just, put their drones on gas, have, very, very low income, and try to just make it work with whatever mutas that they can pop out.
Right.
Not the case. Sulky, he doesn't do that. And because Royal cuts turrets here, he gets another massive advantage. He's going to have his second base coming up. He hasn't had to build any turrets, so his factories are way faster, and his expansion is way stronger. This is looking really, really good for Royal.
Yeah, really well executed opening from him. Quite impressed. And we see Burrow out of Sulky, so we can, use some of these Zerglings dotted around the map to give him some scouting information. Maybe if Royal does go for some sort of timing attack, Sulky can sort of punish the mobility of the Terran mech as a result. And yeah, I think we now will see a few turrets added on just for a little bit of security, but nothing crazy. I don't think he's going to make that many turrets, maybe like 1 or 2 here and there, like one in his natural, one in his main. I'm kind of impressed. And Sulky is inversely just going to play wide, which is what you kind of want to do against mech. He's just going to take a 4th base, he maybe even take a 5th base right now because he knows that the 3rd is going to be coming soon. He's going to be coming into the natural expansion though, picking up these 2 SCVs as they're building the turrets, so has kind of opened up this position a little bit, but all that's really doing for Sulky is like buying him some time because he knows now the Goliaths are going to pull back into that natural expansion. There's no way they can push, there's no way they'll be in the main base, and now we can swing all the way around and try and come back into the main base and hopefully catch them out of position yet again.
Yeah, it's incumbent on Royal to build a few extra turrets just to make sure that the Mutalist backstab doesn't kill him or kill too much of his economy. So he will build a couple of turrets in each location, but you can see he's a little bit slow on that. And Royal is not stopping. He's going across the map. He's only got 1 tank here, Shun.
Yeah.
If Sulky builds a lot of sunken colonies behind this, and just continues to pick off stuff in Royal's base, there's still a really good opportunity for Sulky to win. I think Royal's kind of botched things here. If he just stayed home and built up a 3rd base and kept on, upgrading, there's almost no way he would have lost this game. But as it stands, he's just going to gamble everything on a big push here, and more Sunkens are coming. Are they going to be in time, though? Sulky is doing so much damage to his base, he has to make this work.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, like there is a chance that Royal can just barely break through this sunken line, but he won't have a lot of forces remaining after the fact, so Sulky can just come back with those mutas in the bottom left now, rejoin with the mutas that he's been macroing up, and he should just barely have enough to crush this force, but he will lose a significant portion of his economy as a result of this, so it's not technically over. We might see a little bit of a scrappy game depending on how this trade goes. I mean, there's a few bruised mutas here. If the trades go well and he snipes these low HP mutas, there's a chance that it could kind of go. There's just no, I don't think there's any hope of him getting a good enough trade here. I think he's lost too many SEVs and he's not trading off against the mutas well enough that, yeah, there's just no hope for him, unfortunately.
Yeah, 28 overall supply. He can't even really mine off of 2 bases. I mean, he's got some SCVs over here, but he's probably going to have to send them back to the main and just float the CC because these mutas are coming. He cannot afford to defend everywhere. He's got 2 turrets. I don't see any Goliaths. There must be a couple popping out in just a moment, but
yeah,
that is it. That's all he's got, and Sulky is blisteringly far ahead. He's got 4 bases with not that many drones, but I mean, how many drones do you actually need as a Zerg player? You've got this many bases. You can mine 1 drone on each mineral patch and be insanely productive. GG is called. Royal taps out in a game which I think both of us thought was going to be Terran favored.
Yeah.
After that run by, it was looking fantastic for him, but Sulky cannot be denied. This man is incredibly good, and if you make one tiny mistake, like leaving your base with not enough turrets at home, he will punish you, and he did so beautifully. Great win there by Sulky.
Yeah, to steel man what you said about the the bases situation and like being able to make like one per patch is actually even better than that. Like if you've got like 4 bases and not many drones, you actually need fewer than 1 per patch to get optimal mining like you would of 3 bases, because you can pick and choose the patches that you mine, right? So at say like the 3rd base you mine the 3 best patches, at the 4th base you mine like the 4th best patches. So then you even need even less drones. If that makes sense, to have the same economy. You can
make more with less.
Yeah, because you have better patches to choose from.
Right, that's wild.
Yeah.
But yeah, totally. I have to reopen this because I closed everything. Hold on a second. All right. Get rid of Royal. So probably the strongest TVZ player just got knocked out.
Yeah.
That's kind of rough. I mean, Barracks, maybe, he's very good against Zerg as well, but I don't know if, I don't know if he would be considered better than Royal. I still think Royal is probably stronger.
Royal is a stronger overall player, but I would say Barracks is probably has a technically better record in TVZ, actually. I wouldn't say Barracks is a better TVZ player necessarily, but I would say his record is better than Royals in TVZ specifically, but only because Barracks is such a TVZ specialist kind of player.
Gotcha.
You want to get into it?
Yeah, I'm ready. All right, a pretty cool little game there on Kickback, giving us a preview into what this might look like in ASL. But now we've got Best, the last Protoss player in the lineup. A very short lineup for Protoss this week, and Best is going to have to do some serious carrying here.
I mean, they say the
his
best
backpack is going to be full. Yeah. Best is the last. That is true. And if we had last in the lineup, that would be even more ironic.
Yeah,
unfortunately.
Yeah, but I mean, they sent, like I said earlier, that they sent out their best noob, and now they're left with the best. I mean, they got something to work with. It's not like terrible, right?
Well, going up against Sulky on this map, and I can't even remember the name of this map right now. Let me pull it up as we're getting into this. Minstrel, the name. Kind of a wacky one. We were taking a look at this earlier, Sean.
Yeah, Minstrel is probably the second weirdest map in the pool. The weirdest being Monty Hall, because it's semi-island. But, yeah, like, you have so many vectors of attack to this choke point. Like, it's not too wide of a choke point, to be fair. It's a little bit wide, but you have like almost four vectors of attack to come in to try and challenge this choke point in the natural here, and it's a little bit peculiar. We may see a cannon rush out at Best. He looks like he's representing it at the very least. And that might force a big response out Sulky. You can't mineral hop over to deal with this, so there actually isn't really an answer besides trying to take the gas and then hopping the gas geyser drones, but that's really awkward to do. You can't really get 2 drones over quickly with that method, so this may be a successful cannon rush. Or he's just faking it anyway.
It was just a fake. Sulky kind of guessing that it was going to be a fake. Yeah. Doesn't pull a huge amount of drones, and so he won't be slowed down that much. Best did spend quite a bit of money on that, so the lost mining time's not going to hurt too badly, and I think this will just be an even trade in the end. Both players just testing each other, poking each other a little bit and seeing what the response is, and everything looks good.
Yeah, you see a lot of mind games, especially amongst players that are familiar with one another, and obviously players as big as Sulky and Best, they've played hundreds, thousands of games against each other in customs and on the ladder over the years, and so you kind of need to do these small, weird, shenanigan mind games, because otherwise players would just have you dialed in too much and would just be able to abuse you at every junction of the game. So you do kind of have to have like lots of variations, many different like behavior trees that you can do at certain points in the game, and he knows that Best is capable of doing that that play at that time, so he respects it a little bit, but not too much that it cripples his economy and that kind of thing.
That's right. Now Best is just getting into a normal macro game. Same goes for Solkey. He's taking the base at the center left. As you can see, it's quite a wide open area, but there are no really choked up bases on this map. Just the bottom left corner and the top right corner are kind of choked, but there are still 2 entrances, which makes it difficult to hold. And Solkey is going to opt for the more wide open third in that center left, rather than the more choked up bottom left corner, because it is a bit closer.
Yeah, I mean, in Zerg vs. Protoss, it's not as detrimental to have this kind of setup. In Zerg vs. Terran, it obviously presents a lot of issues, because you can't really easily secure that third gas with just like 1 choke point or 1 ramp with lurkers or what have you. So it would be precarious on Zerg vs. Terran, but as ZVP, I think this may be even just a teeny tiny bit Zerg favored, as long as you choose a correct pathing with where you build your expansions and you go about it in a smart way. I think this might be ever so slightly Zerg favored. Might catch this scouting probe, does take it down into hull hit points. Solkey's going to want to try and intercept that probe if he can, because scouting information is basically everything in this matchup. Zerg has the advantage with the scouting until the Corsair is coming out at like 5-6 minutes. So if he does catch this scouting probe, it can be very worrying for Best. He doesn't know if there's going to be some kind of craziness coming behind this as a follow-up, and might need to force him to make cannons as a result and slow down his gateway timings at the very least.
Interesting decisions here from Solkey. Lair finishes and Hydralisk Den starts.
Yeah.
I'm not sure what he's planning to go for. Is it going to be 5 Hatch Hydra before Storm finishes? That could be the decision here. With Overlord speed, it allows you to still bust even if all the Overlords have been killed over by the natural. The Protoss player can't just defend with a single DT and hold you off in that case.
Yeah.
But it is a sneaky play. It's something different, and that's what you were talking about earlier, is you have to mix in some of these wacky plays to players that you play against all the time to make sure that they're not just able to pigeonhole you. And Best is sending his Corsairs across the map now, but he has not scouted this yet. What can Solkey do with this early Hydralisk Den? Maybe he threw it down because he thought that this was going to be too fast, like the Corsairs were going to be too fast. Is that the case?
Yes and no. Like I think both things are true. Like he's also getting the tech online faster for these Hydras. He's going to make the Hydra Den anyway, obviously, to defend against the Corsairs. But I think this may be some sort of pressure build from Solkey, because he's just going straight into 5-6 Hatch Hydra, and without any kind of commitment into Spire is a little bit unorthodox for Solkey. Solkey is the kind of guy to go 3 Hatch Lair almost every single time. So the fact that he's not doing that is kind of, at the very least, he's trying to represent to Best that that's what he wants to do. So maybe he's just trying to force a response out of Best to, like I was saying earlier, making a few additional cannons, slowing down the gateway timings, and then hoping to beat Best out on the map with a more battle Zerg orientated army after crippling his opening. But it remains to be seen. We may just be seeing mind games here from Solkey. I don't know for sure.
Yeah, this is interesting. I'm trying to figure out exactly what's actually occurred here. I think that maybe Best going for the cannon rush early, forcing some of the drones off the line, maybe that was enough.
Yeah, maybe
to slow down the gas, because I saw the gas come down at 3 minutes, which is slightly too slow to get the to get the Scourge out in time to deal with the Corsair. So maybe this is the right response from Solkey, just based on the little bit of a slowdown that occurred at that outset of this game.
Yeah, I would say that's probably the correct conclusion there. I think that's an astute observation, and I think that's exactly it. And we're basically seeing the exact same build, but in a variation. He's doing the 6 Hatch Hydra with the Spire. It's just that everything's a little bit later. So he's going into the wider, more macro hatcheries first before the tech, because he needs to kind of do things a little bit more lopsided because of that initial issue. So yeah, I think that's exactly what's happening.
Well, now we've got Zealots coming into this third base. The SimCity is not perfect right now. You can see that this is definitely a new map. Solkey is not quite ready for this, but he's got the drones to try and block, and he will be able to shove everything back. Best just taking a slight trade there, killing off a few Hydras and backing away with the majority of his zealots still intact.
Yeah. And looks like we only see 3 cannons made from Best, so not like a huge investment, but it's kind of like what you need to have at this point, honestly. Like, if you don't have like 3 cannons and 3 High Templars, you can just straight up die to like a Hydra timing here, like a standard like Hydra Flood. That's 8 minutes 30, 9 minutes. And honestly, like, Sulky's been a little bit lazy with his Hydra positionings at these expansions, but maybe he's trying to bait in the Zealots to come in like this. Like, I sometimes do see Zerg players like try to bait the Zealots into engagements on expansions just so that they can swallow up the Zealots rather than just letting them run away for free each time. So yeah, he's done a great job of he caught quite a lot of those Zealots and one of those Corsairs. Supply blocked a little bit, but not honestly. Like, Sulky's looking pretty fantastic in this game. He might just like overwhelm Best with a critical mass of Hydras soon, but this DT is denying this expansion. 6 kills on that DT for the time being, and the Hydras are moving out of position right now. The DT can get maybe a couple of drone kills here.
Going in for the drone kills, gets 2, only 2, plus the one that was heading down to that 4th base. I want to talk quickly about the 4th base on this map, because generally in this matchup, 3 bases is pretty easy to grab for the Zerg player, and then the 4th is like a stretch out onto the map to another corner or something like that to try and grab a faraway base that's difficult to hold. On this map, that 4th base is very close to your 3rd, very defendable. So Sulky is going to move to take that 4th base really, really fast here. He is switching into Mutalisk, though, right now. He's got a big flock coming into the main base, and a dropship is heading out on the map. This could get crazy.
Yeah, so, there is a 2nd cannon just about to warp into the main base. He's not quite going instantly, so the cannon will finish up. There is 2 Scourge here to also zone out the Corsair, and he can do a lot of damage. He just needs to kill... Oh! Storm actually killing 1 single probe and not actually hitting a lot of those mutas for long enough, so now these mutas can still get a few probe kills on the exit, and that's a pretty significant damage done. And this Overlord might just barely see this shot. I think he noticed, I'm not sure. He very reacted and started looking at those top 2 bases. It seemed like he knows. I'm not 100% sure. Maybe he didn't see it at all, actually. He's just gonna... Oh, okay, he's aware that there's a DT that's going to be coming in, so he is kind of aware of the situation, and he has got the Hydras coming in, so he might lose like 4 drones. Is still a pretty decent compensation for Best, honestly, like killing 4 drones, but I still would say this is a little bit Sulky edged, and Best is being a bit sneaky, hiding his shuttle, and Sulky would have expected him to try and run that shuttle back, but he's not. He's just camping up there at the top. Maybe he can elevator in another DT or something a little bit later.
Well, that's pretty crazy that this shuttle actually survives. I was not expecting that. Sulky just not scanning his base and checking for the presence of that is a little bit disappointing for him. I wonder if there's anything in that. If there was like a Templar in there, dude, that would get so much value. It's kind of crazy.
Yeah.
Coming in once again to the natural, picking off a few probes here and there. Will fly through some Dragoon fire, so almost losing the bulk of these mutas, but he is opening up the map more and taking 4th base. This is looking pretty good for Sulky. 3rd is on the way now for Best, but I really like Sulky if we get to that late game situation. If we get to Mass Ling and Lurker, I feel like he definitely has the edge.
Yeah, I would agree. Best is a strong player, of course, but Sulky is just an absolute monster of a macro player. He's just kind of scary, the positions that he can get himself into in the late game stage, and he's pretty good at his task switching as well. Even though he's a macro-oriented player, his task switching ability is exceptional. He hasn't got the best micro in the game, but he certainly's got pretty damn good multitasking. And just a couple of lurkers on this bridge may be able to be broken through here by Best. He might try and like crack the armor before it's gotten too hard here. And he does get 1 Templar up into the north, so he can start like, you know, squeezing in some units and just dumping out the storm and all of these lurkers that are kind of in this like L-shaped kill box here. But it's just too much tactical positioning of these units to come in here, I think. And he's not fully aware of just how many Hydras are in position to pincer as well. You could just have his whole army swallowed up in an instant if he's not careful. So Best wisely just skirmishes at the front and then, you know, waits for more reinforcements to come in. And that's basically how you want to engage the Zerg at this point in the game, is just skirmish, use up your energy, and then go back for reinforcements and rinse and repeat.
The bridge, the natural enemy of the Protoss army. This bridge he's coming across right now is going to be very hard to crack. Scourge coming in. Gonna hit both of these observers. One more is coming. So maybe he can make some progress here with that last observer. Not a lot of forces right here, right now for Sulky, but you can bet there is a large mass growing on another part of the map. You can see we've still got 136 supply, nearly even to the Protoss supply. But he just got supply blocked. That's actually kind of important. During this, he's not going to be able to macro. He's only making overlords, so if he continues to bleed off units and he's not able to produce anything more, he might be in a position to actually lose this game. Best is pushing hard right now, but there are forces coming from every different direction. The storms are running out. Wow. The army coming in from the right-hand side is actually going to start to block these Dragoons. They do manage to pick off those Lings and force their way back across the bridge, but that was a little bit scary for Best. He needs to be careful not to get surrounded.
Yeah, I mean, like, I can understand Best's intentions here because he is doing a good job of breaking open that position and could put Sulky into a precarious situation where he's just killing units at the rally point. But Sulky just barely had the critical mass to, pincer that. But now we're going to see this little tactical 4 Zealot play into the main base. I'm not sure exactly what he's going to target. Maybe just the pool here. Yeah, the pool is going to be the target of choice. And then that's going to maybe really hiccup Sulky, where he's not able to produce Zerglings for quite some time. And then maybe not get that critical mass that he just had to be able to deal with these attacks coming in from Best. And that might just be the ticket that Best needs to kind of get some control over the state of the game.
Ooh, Sulky's being a little bit lax with his overlords. Letting them go down in each of these fights is pretty rough for Sulky. Like, he's just losing so many that he's not really able to continue to just mass up and produce.
Yeah.
And Best is going to slip in a DT to the main as well. Looks like that's been spotted. So Sulky doing a good job of defending. It's just he is getting a little bit off kilter here. Pushed to the edge by Best, and Best has secured his 4th base with still a big roaming army. This is not the position we're used to seeing Sulky in. He's usually in pretty strong control of the game at this point, and Best is going to shove across this bridge once again. It's wild, but it's actually working.
Yeah, it's actually kind of crazy that Best is just known for being able to crack open positions that look like hard to attack into. He does this in Protoss vs Terran as well, and he can make those. He can translate those skills, transfer them over to this matchup as well with how he engages with his army. Does get him into some bad situations sometimes, but he's also can get these weird situations where he's in a bad spot and then he makes a comeback and just breaks what looks like a tough spot to crack. And now we see him just coming rolling up to this natural expansion, getting on top of the rally point that we were talking about earlier, and still a lot of these lurkers doubling up from Sulky, so the storm value is very cost effective for Best as well. So even though his forces have been diminished quite significantly, there is a rally point on the way. Sulky's going to be trying to get in it and pincering this, killing these Archons before even able to finish. It's a little bit frustrating for Best. Just a few more moments and he would have been able to secure that position maybe, but it doesn't matter. I mean, I think Best has just barely done enough damage to Sulky to make this game a lot more playable for him, but this game is by no means over.
No, by no means over, that's for sure. He's still shoving in here. 10 kill Archon in that backline, just killing all the Lings as they pop out. Finally, a Hydra is here to fight, but it gets picked off as well. Lings are dying as they come forward, and Best is actually making progress. He's pushing in. One more lurker pops out. I think we have one observer. 21 kill Archon, 23, 24. This is getting a little bit too crazy, and Best is starting to crack through.
Yeah, I mean, I think Best is just actually barely starting to do it. I don't think Sulky can actually stabilize from this point. This is what you were talking about earlier. Once you get on top of the rally points of the Zerg, it becomes a little bit precarious because you're kind of forced to trade right away, and you're getting most of your army killed as it's popping out of the hatchery. You can't really morph lurkers there. There's just no real hope of defending against the Protoss player, and you have to wait for these big long rally points from the other corner of the map to come up here, and you can't really synchronize the units coming in with the units hatching. Everything just kind of falls apart for the Zerg at this point, as we can see. And yeah, 69 supply to 150 is a lot of upgrades on these Protoss units as well. 213, even getting the shields upgrades to get a bit more meat onto these Protoss Archons, so they're not too much paper thin. GG finally called from Sulky, and yeah, a little bit of life here for Protoss player with their 1 star remaining on their 2-man squad.
여러분 날씨 더웠죠? 시원하셨습니까?
이게 도재욱 선수죠. 약간 김범수 선수가 보면서
Okay.
기세가 하늘을 찌르고 있고요.
근데 여러분 제가 진짜 이런 말씀을 드리는 게 웃긴 게 여러분이 참한주 경기
He totally did pull off like a
Yeah.
PVT style bust. Just oh, that's a lot of lurkers.
He's had some comebacks in PvZ that way a lot in the past, where like it looks like he's actually losing, and then he just goes on this like crazy crusade and somehow manages to break open positions. It's like, what?
Yeah, how did that happen?
한 3킬 정도는
Yeah, wild.
조금
That's interesting.
그런 말이 좀 약간 무게가 좀 실리지 않을까 생각을 합니다.
도지혁 선수가
All right.
You wanna get it?
자, KCM 종족 최강전 2024 세 번째 시즌 7주차를 함께하고 계시는데요.
Okay, Best pulls off the bust there against Solkey. That position was looking so strong with so many lurkers, but he just rams it down. Best sticking to his ape-like style. It's done him very, very well in the past in Protoss versus Terran, but you can see it still works against Zerg in certain situations.
It kind of reminds me. I'm not that much of enough of a nerd to remember the specifics, but it reminds me of like that clip from the movie where the Hulk sort of grabs. Is it Loki? He sort of like grabs Loki and just starts like smashing him around and says like "puny god" or whatever. It kind of is like that. Like you expect like Best not to be able to handle it, but he still just like throws you around and smashes you around like you're a rag doll, even though you're like, "Huh, I'm supposed to be like unbreakable. Like, how are you killing me?"
That's right. I think that is the correct reference there. I think that was from like Avengers Endgame or something like that.
I think so.
I mean, absolutely ragdolled there at the end. There were some small mistakes from Solkey, some uncharacteristic mistakes that were happening. But I thought his game plan was pretty good on that map, Minstrel. Now we're here on Radion. So at least one map that I like in this map pool, or at least one map that's, you know, very standard and strong. The AMD map here, Radion's still going to be in this map pool, which I'm very excited about.
Yeah, I mean, it's such a good map, and it gives you a totally unique flavor of the way you approach this game, especially with these very long rush distances. Some of the longest we've got in the game. Cross-map Radion is like the longest rush distance I think we have had ever in StarCraft. It's absolutely crazy. It does kind of allow for a more methodical playstyle, but the third expansion is pretty challenging to take. It's relatively far away. It might look quite close because of how the bases are positioned on the minimap, but trust me, that's a long walk for Terran to that third base. And Sharp being Sharp, we may be seeing some. Did he take that 11 gas? Was this 11 gas from Sharp? Because if that is, then maybe we might see a way of punishing this bit of greed out of Best here with this factory timing. I'm not sure if he's actually able to do that with the rush distances, though.
I didn't see if it was an 11 gas, but I know that Sharp is partial to the very fast factory openers. He's also partial to taking very quick 3 base versus Protoss that open like this with the Nexus first. It requires a lot of precision, though, and to get Vultures out on the map with mines really early on, because the Best will have a later robotics facility because of the way he's opened here with the double gateway and the very fast Nexus. You just won't have observers out too quickly, and Sharp can take advantage of that if he finds out about this Nexus, and he will just now see it. I think he's going to be a little bit frustrated, though, with the position.
Another reason why the 11 gas is just so strong against the Nexus first, potentially, guys, is because they do the safe version where they make 2 gateways, 1 or 2 Zealots into 2 Dragoons immediately. The Vulture actually gets there just before the 2 Goons are popping out, so you can start shooting probes at the natural and force them to stop mining just before the Dragoons can save it. So at the very least, you might get 1 or 2 probes, and you'll also deny a bit of mining time to compensate you for the earlier gas and Vulture. So it's what we're seeing from Sharp here. He wants to try and get in it just before these 2 Goons pop out, but I'm not sure about the timing of that. The rush distances on Radion just a little bit longer than other maps.
Ooh, trying to run by this 2 Zealots. He will get past that. Coming in towards this natural. The probes will have to be pulled. 1 probe goes down. A second probe looks like it's about to fall. It does fall. And this Vulture just going to make a run for it because he needs that for the follow-up. He needs that for the mines and the 2 zealots that are heading across the map as well. 4 marines are back at home. There should be another vulture popping out soon. But this is still a serious threat, especially with the SCV on the low ground here, trying to make this CC.
Yeah.
He's going to leave 1 zealot to kill that SCV. And wait a second.
That's a flash SCV.
Pretty lucky here. He is going to keep this SCV alive, and he will just kill the zealot with only losing 2 marines total. This is a great opener for Sharp. He will, however, lose the vulture over at best base. That's a little bit painful.
Yeah.
So he won't be able to get any mines over there in front of best base before, or force the dragoons to stay back either. So he's in kind of a difficult position here, and I don't think he's going to be able to snag that third base, the quick third base I was talking about earlier.
Yeah, it's always a tough nut to swallow for Terran players when they can't get those mines out with their vultures. I mean, vulture is technically a very OP unit, but there's a lot of resources investment that you need to get those mines online. So if you do make some small positioning mistakes and lose those vultures just before that mine upgrade becomes relevant, it's actually really painful to swallow that. It's so much map control that goes down the drain when you lose those 3 mines, and it's a painful thing that all Terran players have to deal with. So usually you'll see Terran players either go one or 2 ways. They'll become obsessed with how they use their vultures, and or they'll become a lot more like tentative and more macro orientated. And Sharp's one of those players that has become obsessed with his vultures, and that's why he's so good at doing these early game shenanigans usually.
So he killed a couple of early probes. He managed to forego any sort of bunker, and he's going to follow up with a drop. Rather than trying to get into a quick 3 base here, he wants to diminish the economy that Best has set up so far. And we'll see if he can actually get in and do that. He's left a pathway for himself along the right-hand side of the map.
Yeah.
You can see he's got a mine over there, so he'll know if there's dragoons just sitting and lying in wait in that position. He's trying to kill one of these dragoons. He might actually get it here in the end, but he wasn't able to get the mines to connect. He doesn't lose any of the vultures. This is pretty good stuff from Sharp. He's going to move out now with the dropship. Pick up 4 vultures, try to get them into the main. A lot of these are damaged already, but I think he's got at least like 2 or 3 fresh ones to jump into that dropship. Shuttle is coming out. Does this have a Reaver already? I don't think so, but it could.
I actually think it does. I think it's slow enough that it does have the Reaver in it. I'm
Okay.
fairly certain. I'm not 100%, but I think
He went for Reaver before Observer, huh?
Yeah, he did.
Okay.
I think he did. I think I saw the observatory finish. I think I saw the observatory start while the support bay was already finished. I think that's what I saw. But we see the vultures coming into natural expansion just as the Reaver gets into the main base, and that's actually quite a lot of potential damage on both sides. But I think that Best has the opportunity, the damage potential to come out on top, but it's really hard to get the execution down. Tank is also in position to already start fighting that back. Not all of the shields have been shaved off this Reaver just yet, though, so still a lot of potential for Best to be super annoying here. Tank is on just 1 hit from death here, but he can't get the Scarab connection on that back SCV because of the SimCity of Sharp, so he at least will save that SCV and not losing like the absolute maximum here. But with some bad target firing, there's no way he's going to be able to get that tank at the very least, so we'll be losing that Reaver at the very end. But it's hard to say who came out on top of this, but I think overall, I think I favor Sharp's position quite favorably still.
I think that Reaver had something like 12 kills near the end. I can't confirm that. I think I saw like close to that number, and then a few more kills went down, but pretty decent damage overall for Best. I'm not clear on how many probes were killed either at the natural. I thought that Sharp would actually drop a couple at the natural and more in the main and get a lot more damage there, but he kind of hovered around that natural and was a little bit indecisive about how he wanted to do that. A lot of stuff was going on during that attack, though. You can't blame him. Sharp is going to try to come back in and polish off a few more probes here if he can make it happen. Maybe he can bring himself into an even better position. He's going to go for the main. 2 Dragoons are prepared, and that pylon goes down at the perfect time. He's going to lose the dropship as well. This went really bad for Sharp.
Yeah, it's really great unit pathing from Best to make sure he had the Dragoons in position to shut down the dropship on the exit as well. And I think now it's starting to be a little bit more best-sided, but honestly, like, Sharp did a great job of slowing down this third base. I think he was only started making this Nexus like 8 minutes 30. It's a very slow third base from Best. But now, after losing that dropship and not really getting too much of a further damage done, I think now this is starting to look a little bit more wobbly for Sharp than it was a moment ago. I hope he can secure this third base without getting bowled over, but I'm imagining, like, in 3 or 4 minutes time, we're going to see a massive Best just bowling him over and taking him out with a very strong timing.
Positioning is going to have to be perfect here from Sharp. Nothing can be left undone here. He has to make sure that he's got the tanks spread exactly as he needs them. He's got what is this? 3 wraiths? No, 2 wraiths. Okay. That's interesting. I like to see the wraith play. If he goes with cloak and gets a 3rd wraith, then you can shut down the shuttles really quickly.
Right.
And we might end up seeing that out of him, but for now, just 2 wraiths. I mean, it hurts the shuttles, but it really doesn't deal damage that quickly. And it costs a lot of gas as well, so a bit interesting to see that. This position here already getting a little bit weakened by Best, just clearing out the mines. Again, need perfect positioning here from Sharp to be able to hold on from even a slight deficit. Even if you're actually ahead, it's tough to hold Best when he tries to crack you on 3 bases. But even just a tiny deficit makes it that much harder.
Yeah, I agree. And I also want to see Sharp, now that he's finishing up this science facility, I want to see him go all the way up into at least 7 factories before he even thinks about making a 4th command center. Like, you can't skimp on your factory count against someone like Best. Like, I think he needs to go into 7 factory right now. Now that he's built his tech, he needs to just saturate this 3rd and go straight into 7 fact.
Absolutely. Getting into that high factory count to match this insane gateway count, and Arbiters are coming up for Best too. I saw that tech a little bit earlier, but I thought maybe my eyes were deceiving me. Best playing Arbiters? Is that real?
It is real, I guess, but you don't usually see it. He's so good at doing the sort of gateway man. Well, it's more like King Kong man as far as Best is concerned. Like, the way he beats his chest while he does it is kind of a crazy thing to witness. He's one of the best in the business, pun intended, at doing it. And gets the vulture in. Doesn't matter about the wall at all. And it's going to be a little bit annoying for Best to have to worry about that. It's not going to be like anything too detrimental, but it just add a little thorn into his side to have to worry about while he's trying to get everything online and firing on all cylinders. Any small victory is a big victory for Sharp, because he does need to keep this grid under control.
Sharp setting up a crazy defensive position there over by the natural, the separate that space between the natural and the 3rd. Oh, that's huge! Did you see that? A probe being sent down here to the bottom left gets picked off. It doesn't slow down the Nexus at all, but it does slow down, adding on extra defenses in that area. Maybe Sharp can slip in there again with some more vultures, get onto that high ground, maybe catch some probes coming in the transfer. It doesn't seem like he's doing that right now, but there are 2 more vultures out here on the map. You can see he's always sharking around looking for kills.
It is a very big deal. I mean, when you're sniping a probe like that, you're slowing down the expansion probably by at least 30 seconds, maybe as much as a minute or more. It's just such a valuable, cost-efficient move. And Best was already relatively
what is this
slow.
tank?
Yeah, what is this tank doing? That must be a misrally or something. There's no way he was intentionally setting that tank down there. That's kind of wild. Does get picked off by those Dragoons in the center, unfortunately. Wraith sharking around at the natural 3rd in the bottom left quadrant of the map. Vulture, trying to get away from these units from being swallowed up. If they can come in here to the bottom left and snipe off another probe, that will be really huge.
I guess another probe. Not going up into the main base, though.
Why didn't he try?
He actually could have gone in there.
Yeah, why didn't he try?
He didn't. He thought that Best had that wall set up again, but in fact, did not. And those vultures could have been even more of a nuisance. Now, here comes a recall Oh, this recall, what, 2 Wraiths on top of this already? How much can he actually do with that? He's just going to recall right in the natural. This is so close to the army of Sharp. He should be able to clean this up with relative efficiency. How many SCVs will end up going down, though, in this trade?
I imagine like at least half a dozen or so. With the like you were saying just a moment ago, with these tanks already in position to deal with this, not a lot. Unironically, I think we'll not see more than like say 6 or 7 SCV kills, and then the army will be trade off inefficiently. So this is probably one of the best case scenarios for Sharp, honestly. Like
Absolutely.
Protoss has just like dried up so much utility and like shrunk their army right now that Sharp's going to be feeling way more comfortable in this game.
Yeah, he could be thinking about taking a 4th right now. With the removal of that Arbiter. He's catching some probes in the middle of the map as well. Ooh. Oh, so many probes are making their way over here. If there's just a scan, Sharp doesn't have it. He does not have the scan to try and finish those off. He's going to loop around, try to go after the probes here on the left-hand side, but it looks like Best is just in close enough proximity to block that from happening. Sharp does not want to throw away all of his vultures here before he makes a move.
Yeah, this is kind of a crazy game. And he's got a little minefield towards the back row of those tanks. That might come into play later on with when Best starts to get aggressive. He needs to be careful not to leave these mines on top of his tanks like this. Best will just have a field day dragging those mines into his tanks. So needs to eventually kill his own mines in these sieged up positions when he gets more entrenched. I hope he doesn't forget to do that, because otherwise we could just see a big tempo swing where all the tanks blow up because he's just sitting on his own mines.
In the words of the great Ozzy Dahaki, you cannot convince me that mines are not a Protoss unit.
They're a very strong unit indeed. Yeah, it's double-edged sword. Like, one of the reasons why the game is balanced is because just because you've got something that's super OP doesn't mean like it doesn't always also work against you in some ways. You know, that could be irradiate as well. Like, you know, irradiated Ultralisk can help kill the Marines as well as damage the Ultralisk. Like, it kind of goes both ways with a lot of these OP abilities and in the game, and that's why the game is balanced and why you shouldn't be raging about what is fair and what isn't fair in the comments down below, because honestly it's not really worth the argument.
No, absolutely not. You're just wasting your breath. This game is never going to change. It is what it is, and there are no balance patches forthcoming. We've got this army moving out, but just like you were talking about, Shun, the mines are underneath the tanks, and it's very worrisome indeed.
Right, yeah. If he doesn't kill those, I'm going to be a little bit... Yeah, it can spell disaster for Terran. Like, is there a chance that it never matters and we won't see anything crazy as a result of that? But there's a chance that that could be the game-ending thing, where like you lose like a little patch of tanks to some mines, and that's it. You just no longer can win the fight anymore. And we see Best trying to come into position. He is kind of thinking about it. I think he's a wise gorilla though. He's got that like Futurama, like, you know, bowler hat on. He's not going to be just like going in at like, you know, any moment's notice. He's going to be trying to pick and choose the right timing, and he realizes that's just too many mines, too deep of a setup to go in right now. He might instead play a bit more loosely and try and sneak in an Arbiter for a recall, but his status is the vessel, and he's almost got the energy recharge to get the recall off, so he could go for this 12 o'clock base and deny that, or just come into the natural again. I think he's gonna go for the natural. It's gonna be a little bit annoying, and the base is almost mined out, but he could get a lot of damage done here. The army's a little bit more out of position than last time.
Yeah, he's going to get that recall in. It's mostly Zealots, so Vultures coming back from the front will be able to clean this relatively easily. I think this is going to go a little bit better than the first recall for Best, but I don't think this is going to be game-ending damage. Sharp has been maxed for a little while. He's losing some of his supply now, but he can absolutely remax, and he should be able to hold this 4th. I was expecting maybe like a secondary attack coming into the 4th while that recall was going on as a distraction tactic, but that's not the case. Best is just going to sit back while Sharp clears that, and now Sharp's going to come back out to the front. He's got a good supply, 192. He's got plenty of SCVs still left over, and he's got that 4th base up and operational. This is still looking pretty great for Sharp. I'm kind of flabbergasted by Best's decision to go for Arbiters, because it doesn't seem like he's as practiced with this play as he is with his regular.
Well, even if even if he was well practiced with it, the reality is that even though Arbiter is a more well balanced unit, it has less potential value than playing Gateway Man. Like Shuttles and Storm has higher potential than Arbiters. It's just a reality. Like there's only a limited amount of value you can squeeze out with Arbiters, and it doesn't have as much of a ceiling, so to speak. So yeah, and on top of that, he's not as good at executing it. He is getting a recall down this 12 o'clock base. Maybe can get the snipe on his command center. There's only vultures nearby, I think. I don't think there's anything to come in here and stop these Dragoons. Maybe killing that command center, which is a bit of conversation, but there's not enough forces to fight against the Terran at the front, I don't think. Or yeah, there's actually like just barely enough forces down here for Sharp that he can keep this under control and keep some pressure on this 6 o'clock base. I think he might just barely save this command center as well. So all things considered, is looking pretty good for Sharp.
Your Dragoon recall not able to kill the command center. Sharp really quick at lifting that and pulling it away as the Arbiter was coming in with the recall, and his force on the other side of the map is insane. He has so many tanks over here. A lot of this is stasis, but he's starting to spread out and pick off more bases. He just has to make sure to get the scan, and he's not scanning here. Finally, he gets the scan. He will be able to clear this, but this was a much better trade for Best than it should have been had the scan come through on time.
And sometimes these stasises can actually work against you as Protoss. If you create like a wall against your own Zealots from even getting good surface area and coming in there on top of the Terran as well, like, you got to be careful with how you stasis and when. And also keeping a mental note of the timing of that, so you can come in here and like abuse the stasis timing just before it wears off and what have you. But yeah, like all things considered, looking pretty good for Sharp. It's trying to wrap around his best though. Get on this back line, which is a little bit softer. He knows that, like we were just talking about, the stasis timing, so he's going to try and get on top of that just before it wears off and try to abuse the position here. But meanwhile, is taking a bit of a damage at this natural third in the bottom left quadrant of the map. The Nexus is under fire right now from some units of Sharp, and he's losing a few Arbiters as well in the center. So still getting some pretty good cost-efficient trades with his army, and now he can utilize these tanks back in his main force again. But Best is wisely cutting off the reinforcement line from Sharp so he can then swallow up this army later with a slightly more critical mass of units. He has got another rally point to work with in the bottom left corner, so can really easily squash these units. Sharp is kind of in a bit of a dangerous spot here where he could just get completely annihilated.
Ooh, the storms are coming out. That patented Best army. The Arbiter there, just a bit of a, what would you call it, like mantle decoration or something. You know, hood ornament here to the front of this army. Completely unnecessary for him to break through that position, but now switching into this normal tech. Whoa. Observers are all going to fly in, and almost all of them die. Great stasis there on a couple of those Goliaths, some of the tanks as well. Best is breaking through. This is crazy, dude. How did Sharp not set up this fourth base earlier? He's just transferring workers now, but Best is already on top of it.
Yeah, I think like Sharp overextended way too much and down into the southwest, and he utilized way too many units to knock out just one base, and now he's just been completely overrun by Best. I mean, I expected it a lot sooner, but we were seeing the same result from the Great Ape, and he's still just asserting that simian dominance that is, you kind of have to give it to him. He's the best in the business at executing these kinds of bust open plays. 190 supplied to 100 right now, sitting on top of these stasis tanks as well. Terran's mined out in his main naturals when you got one base worth of economy. Like, really, you need two bases mining to have any chance in Terran versus Protoss in the mid to late game stages. GG finally called. And yeah, Best might just get it done. You know, this lone wolf saying might just get it done.
That's crazy. Best running over Sharp there. If you go back and take a look at when the push was happening, and the recall came through with what, like 5 Dragoons that shut down Sharp's fourth base and prevented him from retaking that for so long. The position was so good for Sharp as he was coming across the map. Had he been able to clear that up a little bit quicker, get that fourth base back online and continue to rally, keep the scans going and everything. It's just so much to juggle all at the same time, and Best did a much better job of spinning those plates. All credit to him. He's carrying his race this week, but can he do it against these next two Zerg players? Queen or Action, who's going to come out next? All right. Sharp. You agree with me there, right? Like, how did that 4 Dragoon or 5 Dragoon recall shut down his entire base at 12? That's kind of wild.
I mean, how didn't it kill the CC?
No, I mean, like, how was it that Sharp was not able to just with his rallies kill those Dragoons and get the 4th base back online? I thought he would have just. You know, he's got like 7 factories, 3 tanks, and a couple of vultures should be able to just kill that. It's such a weak recall into the base, but
it's the folly of most Terran players. They struggle to do everything. It's really hard to spin all the plates at that stage in the game. Like, and he has the tools to do the job. He has the tanks to knock out the expansions, but doing all that just takes time, like sieging, unsieging, repositioning.
Right.
And while it's very, very high execution and taxing, and most Terran players just simply can't handle spinning those plates at that stage, and Best knows that. That's why the good Protoss players, the really good Protoss players, they play it like Terran versus Zerg. They know all the little hiccups and timings that they can really be annoying and get in your face, and you kind of have to be an asshole to be good at Protoss in that way.
That's a good way to put it. Yeah, I always think that like recall coming in as the Terran is moving out is the best. Like going in for those earlier recalls, like the Terran is just sitting there. He's just going to move back, kill everything, and then, you know, have an even better position. But right as he's moving out, as he's trying to control everything, you get a little recall in his one of his outlying expansions and shut it down. It's so tough for him to handle everything at the same time. And Best did a great job of like throwing in the arbiters and a few zealots over and over at the army while Sharp was doing everything else, just to abuse Cloak.
Maybe he had a good
not
read.
Able to pay attention.
Maybe he had a good read on Sharp, where he felt like that he would be able to stretch Sharp too thin to be able to be on top of everything, and he knew that maybe arbiters would give him enough consistent value purely because of Cloak, and he knew that Sharp wouldn't be able to be on top of everything.
Yeah, I think that might be the case. All right, let's keep it going. We got Action versus Best.
말이 안 나올 수가 없어요. 잡은 선수들이 면면들이.
그러니까요. 우리가 그동안 계속해서 정말
Well, Best able to stretch Sharp to the very limit of his play, and with that kind of crazy Arbiter style, with the mix of Templar, Storm, Dropship, he pretty much got everything aside from carriers that game and managed to make it work against one of our strongest PvP specialists.
Yeah.
If Best beats Action here, what are the chances that Barracks can take him down? I think it's pretty low.
Yeah, Barracks is not super hot in Terran versus Protoss. That's why I was like thinking just a moment ago, wow, this Lone Wolf might actually do it, because Barracks is going to be his probably easiest game going forward. He's just got to probably worry about Action and Queen here. I think straight up, he will crush Barracks. Barracks is way more of a Terran versus Zerg specialist kind of player. He's more of like a 30-40% win rate in Terran versus Protoss, and Best is more of a Terran versus Protoss specialist. So yeah, Best probably just worrying about Action and Queen right now, and he can take all 3 of these guys.
Set up for success. Can Best make it happen? Action down here in the bottom left on Dominator, our Gladiator remake with the pizza slices heading out into the middle of the map. It's a 3-player Gladiator, basically.
It's a very poorly cut pizza, saying. Look at those, like what is that? And they spread the slices out to like make the pizza look bigger than it actually is. Like, what kind of marketing is this?
The slices on the original Gladiator were much more symmetrical, but because of the difficulties of making a 3-player map, they weren't able to make it perfectly symmetrical. And Best here trying to do another sneaky play with Pylon finishing up. He's actually going to make a cannon now. So not enough respect here from Action, I guess.
Yeah, you're supposed to pull 3. You need 3 so you can hop 2 over. If you don't do that, then you can just actually commit to it. Even if your initial intention was to fake it, if they only pull 2, you can just essentially like the Zerg player has disrespected the cannon rush. You need 3.
Well, you know what he's trying to do right now is he's just trying to block this probe from getting in. If he can stop the probe from building a second cannon, then it's very difficult to make or to kill the actual hatchery. The one cannon is very slow at dealing that damage, and he will get the second and third cannon up. Oh, he can't make that. Oh, the little extra damage from the probe plus the 2 shots from the cannon kills that drone, and so he loses a drone and he has to make 2 sunken colonies. This is really, really rough for Action. He's got some links coming out though. Can he hold this?
This is going to be a very tight hold. It's actually possible with the sunken timing, I think just barely, but he has to get a little bit lucky with the Zerg, and he's just going to cancel. He knows there's enough investment from the Zerg that it doesn't matter. Once the sunkens are already on way, he can't cancel and get those drones back. It's just a nice little bait and switch. He turned a fake cannon rush into a double fake cannon rush. He's such a little handsome gorilla, isn't he? Now he's going to force these lings to come in and see if they can do something in the natural expansion. As long as he doesn't take any damage there, he's going to be feeling pretty comfortable about his position.
So Action is using that glitch where you can shoot farther than the range of the hatchery, but oh, wow. That hatchery is getting very, very low. He switches over to just try to kill the pylon. Even has to bring some lings forward to make sure that dies before this hatchery goes down. That was a little bit risky there from Action, sending the lings straight across the map rather than coming back to clean up the cannon, but it works out okay. He's going to build the layer in the natural to increase the HP of his hatchery. So when this layer finishes, the layer actually has more health than the actual hatchery.
Right,
so
a few hundred more.
When this finishes, yeah, you'll have a few extra health granted to that hatch, and makes it a little bit harder to snipe, but it's still a big target here for Best later on.
Yeah, and your buildings have base armor as well, so you're just worried about it being sniped at like a 200 hit points. You know, you don't want it to be like too easy of a target. It is a little bit risky if it does get sniped, because then you've also lost your tech, so he's going to have to hope that Best doesn't do any kind of like 7-gate goon builds or something, like 5-7-gate goon pushes, and maybe come in here with Dragoons early on and threaten that layer a little bit too much. But I don't think we'll see anything too crazy like that at Best. He'll just play a pretty standard game from here on and just be happy that he's hiccuped the macro powerhouse of Action early game. And Action is such a strong aggressive macro orientated Zerg that any kind of hiccups you can do against him is going to be good. But because he is so good, I also wouldn't count him out by any stretch of the word. Like, we could see a very solid game out of Action from here on.
Oh, Action allowing these 2 zealots to sneak out is pretty bad. These actually might find the hatchery in the bottom right. That would be super, super painful. Action actually spreading out his lings. I think he's figured out that 2 zealots left. He doesn't know where they're at right now, but he's going to slowly loop around, try to figure out where those are coming from, and he will find them. Okay, this is really important that he finds these zealots, because 2 zealots walking into your natural or up to your third base at a improper time can absolutely ruin your day as a Zerg player, and he cannot allow any more hiccups to happen in this game.
Yeah.
Otherwise, he'll just fall way too far behind.
And he's already got a sunken in the natural to help deal with this zealot that's coming in. So now the Zerglings don't have to worry too much or as much about coming out onto the map to commit to surrounding these zealots, because 1 zealot will just barely die. You need at least 2 to do a successful run by there. So he's feeling pretty safe and has got this Spire finish to, you know, produce 1 or 2 Scourge to start catching these Corsairs. But because of the early shenanigans, he won't have, like we were talking about before in the earlier game, like he won't actually have the timing to kind of, you know, snipe the Corsair right away. So the Corsair will be safe and just, you know, flying around the map, but he will try and get the intercept vector as it tries to retreat to the base now. 2 Scourge are making their way towards the rally point of Best right now to see if they can come in and snipe this Corsair, but they have such short distances that he's actually just going into the main base to scout instead, it looks like. Sorry, short vision range.
2 cannons. Yeah, 2 cannons in the main base. He's ready for, you know, some sort of aggression from Action. He knows that the third base was heavily delayed, and so Action's economic position is not as hot as it usually would be. Best has everything that he needs right now, and has information about the follow-up here from Action. So I'm really liking Best's overall position. But we cannot count Action out. He's got a high ground natural as his third base, and That's one of the positions that Action is the scariest in, right? Is when he's got those quick 3 bases with a free 4th base behind it and can go right on into a late game hive play.
Yeah, he's very strong at doing those kinds of styles. Even in Zerg versus Terran, he'll sometimes be super greedy and like make the bare minimal amount of Mutalisks and go straight into Crazy Zerg or something. Like he'll do these very tactical, greedy builds to try and get a macro edge over you. And then he's also so strong at being an aggressive player that he's both good at building a lot of units and also leveraging those units against you with a pretty good control and timed execution. Has got a pretty big flock of Scourge here, trying to maybe get on top of the air superiority of Best before it runs amok and can start to get some air dominance going. There is 5 Corsairs there. You need to be a little bit careful with like just 1 or 2 Corsairs going down could spell disaster for Best, so he's going to be very wise to run back, to retreat, get back up to 6 Corsairs, utilize the cannons as point defense, and go from there, because he knows that right now there's a little bit of an Ogre Zerg potential where he can come in here and shark around and get some big damage onto the Corsair fleet, and then Best won't have as much control in this game as he needs.
Well, this is a pretty decent hold from Action. You know, this early pressure with a bunch of Zealots, 4 gateways, Zealot running around with some Corsairs being annoying. It can really crack open a player if they're just slightly behind. They don't have just enough Scourge and Mutas to deal with the air threat. You start to lose Overlords, and then as the Zealots run in, you start to lose more and more. But Action just barely had the right number of Scourge ready to fight this, ready to push this back, and he's forced Best into a really defensive position while taking his 4th base. Yeah, it's reasonable. Action definitely has a good shot in this game. Just needs to make sure not to lose all of these mutas and keep this threat alive so that Best can't just move out unimpeded.
Yeah, I mean, so far I would say Action's doing pretty good in this game. Like, he wants the game to just drag out. Like, as long as the game state maintains, he's happy. So it's kind of the onus is on Best to make something happen here. And he's going to be trying to take his 3rd base, but Action's not too worried about that. Like, he's going to go into fast 4 base anyway, so he can just go into high. But does get a pretty good surround on those Corsairs, but actually only like 2 of them falling there. He had a big massive fleet of Corsairs. Does get another follow-up kill on those Corsairs actually, so now down to 6. So did manage to kill 3 in total, which is actually a pretty sizable amount. There's a lot of gas being invested into these Corsairs. Best is hoping for air superiority right now, and Action is doing everything in his potential to try and deny that, so he can't just come in here and get a tactical advantage by utilizing a massive Corsair fleet and being annoying against Action. So far everything is going pretty smooth for Action. He's dotted all his I's, crossed all his T's, and he's going to be going to a very powerful 4 base economy.
Let's just calculate this out, Shun. We've got, what, 9 Corsairs that were made?
Yeah, that's a lot.
Plus Archons as well. That's a heavy commitment into anti-air, and we've only built 7 mutas here as Action. So he has a lot of gas to work with. He's going to be able to make a ton of Hydras, and there's not going to be that ground-pounding force for Best that we're used to seeing. He's mostly specialized here for anti-air. That's not going to go too well for him. He's actually going to kill his own Evolution Chamber here to get out of his base so that these Hydras can have a bit of unit flow as the Dragoons come up here. Hydras are going to make their way over towards the natural. Where is he going with this big counterattack force? It looks like he's going directly for the throat of Best. He's just going to dive right on top of the cannons here. I don't see any Templar in this army. No Templar over at the 3rd base of Action either. This is just a pure Dragoon plus 1 Archon army. These mutas are actually being stabbed by the Corsairs, so they're going to all go down very, very quickly, but he actually kills the DT and keeps 1 Overlord alive. Now going to kill that last Overlord, but with the DT gone, he can continue to push on the pressure. He's punching through the natural. He's killed all of this wall, and he's starting to kill a lot of probes as well. He's jumping on top of the Dragoons. Dragoons are going down en masse. So many Hydras are making their way to the front. I think that Action's done it. He has. GG. Wow. Beautiful play here by Action. And an overcommitment to the anti-air defense for Best.
No, Action is coming, saying absolutely insane stuff. Barracks is a Terran versus Zerg specialist, though, so he's going to be like, you know, like wiping his brow, being like, phew, I actually get something I can win now. I can actually maybe take it.
Yeah, definitely a better possibility here for Barracks. He's going to be happy about that last game result, but with Action looking so solid in that last game, will Barracks be able to come out on top? He's got a 70% win rate in Pro League right now versus Zerg.
Right.
Really impressive statistics, but statistics do not win games, do they, Shun?
They don't. Not in their own saying. They imply that you should be winning, but not necessarily whether or not you will.
반대로 김성대 선수는 스콜지도 추가적으로 거기서 더 찍지도 않았어요. 그냥 거기서
All right. Protoss is Gown. I don't think they're going to give him a revive or anything either. It's rough.
Yeah. Yeah, maybe they should have thought about... I guess they can't do that, though, because then it incentivizes you to, like, you know, play shenanigans and, like, deliberately show up with a two-man squad to, like, get Snow 2 lives, you know what I mean? Like, I think you can't do that because you can't incentivize that kind of thinking.
Yeah, or at least you'll have people, like, questioning whether that's what they're doing, right?
That's what I mean. You can't hurt the integrity of the competition by doing that. So you have to not do that so that there can't be any question about it.
That's right. Yeah, makes sense.
Yeah, integrity is a big thing in competition.
All right. Potentially the last game of the night.
Let's get it.
KCM 종족 재학년 2024 세 번째 시즌 7주차 6경기.
Potentially last game, mate.
Potentially the last game of the night here, and possibly one of the fastest KCM's weeks that we've had this season, with Protoss already going out due to having only 2 players. We were just discussing during the break how it does suck that we can't have any sort of revive here for the Protoss squad, but it does make sense, doesn't it?
Yeah, I was just saying to you off scripts, saying that basically you can't do that. Like, if otherwise you incentivize the potential for, like, you know, deliberately not showing up so Snow can have 2 lives, and then you hurt the integrity because you'll always have that, like, you know, doubt in the back of your mind. Like, did the guy not show up because he couldn't show up, or did he not show up to, like, get an unfair advantage? You know, like, and it does hurt the integrity. So you won't see anything like that, any kind of compensation for only having the 2-man squad here. And Monty Hall, though, such a crazy map, and we're not going to be seeing anything super crazy out of Barracks. There is a lot of early game shenanigans you can do as pretty much any race on this map, maybe not as much for Zerg. So Action might be a little bit relegated to having to be very creative if he wants to be sneaky, but you'll just be seeing them sliding an SCV here to scout. This isn't to do anything no rush or anything. This is just to literally just get the SCV down the lane to come and scout. He's actually choosing wrong, though. Action is going to be expanding to the top lane rather than the center.
Yeah, this is a wacky map, guys. This is the map most famous for Bisu versus... Oh, okay.
It's 10-10-10. He's going to make a proxy factory at 10.
Alright, he's going to make a factory and I think float over, or will he try to utilize the SCV to hop?
He'll probably float. I imagine he'll float it, but he could use the SCV to hop each time. It depends on how much he's practiced the execution. If he's practiced his execution specifically for this map and he's feeling confident, I imagine it might be the SCV hop method. It's just so crazy to risk it, but it looks like he's feeling confident and he'll go for that. It's really crazy to risk it, though, because it can go wrong so badly on this map. Like, when I played this back in the day, like, there was times where I could drill it every single time, like 10 times in a row, and then all of a sudden I couldn't do it 3 times in a row, and it's like, what?
What is this second SCV coming over for? What do we think about this one? What is he doing with that? He's actually bringing it back? I'm really confused about what's actually going on right now.
Well, I don't know.
Is he planning to mine? Okay. Is he going to build a starport? No, he's not mining gas.
No, there's no starport.
This is a bit interesting.
Yeah.
That's a little bit weird right now from Barracks.
Yeah, I don't know about that, actually. I'm really confused about that. This might just be to expand later? I have no idea. Like, it's really weird that it's just chilling there. I don't know. We'll have to see. But he will be just, using the hop over method for these vultures. But with the Lings here, there's a potential that he can slow this down by a little bit of time. If you want to slide the vulture over prematurely, the lings will just surround it on the other side of the minerals. So there's a little bit of a mini game here, and you see he can't get it over with just one go. Like, it's very frustrating to rely on this method to do that. So he's going to be doing the float over now and utilize this vulture on the other side as a little point defense.
I see. Okay, so he has the vulture on this side to prevent anything from getting underneath the factory to block it from landing, and to also protect the vulture once it pops out. It's gonna pop out. Can he make a run for it? Ooh, he is gonna get around this. That's huge.
Wow.
He's gonna get by this. He's gonna start to kill a bunch of lings. He's just gonna wait for another one to come up. Hydra Den is done though. Hydras are on the way.
Yeah.
That should be the end of the actual aggression, because we cannot get like speed or anything like that. Even just slow Hydras can handle this attack, although there are now 3. He actually hopped it. Oh my god, he finally got the hop on it at the perfect time here.
There's no
Barracks.
range, so he can micro the Hydras down is the problem. If there's not a critical mass of Hydras, he actually can skirmish down these Hydras in low numbers. It's just very difficult to do, but Barracks is a capable enough player that he can execute this micro. If Action's very good at his targeting, and maybe he can still hold on. He does get the Vulture. He does get the Vulture though, so that's a really big pick for Action. But it doesn't really matter. The micro is good enough that he is starting to bully these Hydras, and yeah, just one hatchery weather production's not going to cut it. There's no way that he can easily get Hydras from their second hatchery into his main base of defense either, so a lot of damage going to be done to Action right now potentially. He is just barely squeezing out enough Hydras to keep the Vultures back. For now, he's still mining. He mined out the patch. He mined out the patch as natural expansion, so now he can reinforce from the natural. Maybe he can hold on to this without losing too many drones, but now all the Hydras are dead. He's going to start to go to work. He's just, look at this. The Hydras are just barely popping out in time to hold this off, and now they're reinforcing from the natural. Will prevent any critical damage done here, but I think still Barracks has done enough damage in this game that he's going to make it very playable at least.
Yeah, maybe he can still play it out, but this is definitely being shut down. Interesting, going into a Marine play. He's just going to all-in Marine after this. This is going to be a crazy game, dude.
This
is
wild.
already kind of wild, but this is going to be really, really nuts.
Yeah.
Barracks, I mean, he's pulling no punches right now. He's going to go all in, and he's still getting damage in the main base, surprisingly.
This is why I was talking to you about this map. It creates such like crazy, interesting games, and like, don't we want that? Don't we want that as a spectator to watch those crazy, interesting games? I'm all about it personally. I would love to see these maps be utilized more, and what a privilege it is to see this map in the KCM map pool. I've been talking about this map for a long time, and seeing it back is crazy to me. This is one of the debut games for Flash against Bisu. Flash was in the top left, Bisu in the bottom right, and he mined out the mineral wall by utilizing a gas to trade the mineral blocks into Vespene Geyser units, and then ran in with the Marines to kill Bisu, and everyone called Flash a cheesy so-and-so, and the reality was that Flash was a genius, and no one knew just how good he was yet, and this was the map he did it on.
An absolutely legendary match, but yeah, I agree. I think that this is very cool to have in the map pool. I like the switch up from Africa TV, now called Soup, by the way. The Soup Star League coming up this next season. This is going to be one of the maps in the pool. I like that they're throwing in some kind of crazy maps, but then they're mostly focused on wacky old maps. Like, throwing in a wacky old map is pretty awesome.
Right.
Just to mix things up rather than throwing in a completely wacky new map. Throwing one of these into the field or into the zeitgeist is pretty awesome. Now, Barracks is coming across the map with a whole bunch of Marines. 2 sunken colonies are on the way, but I think he's going to make it here just before these finish. We've got quite a few Hydras to buy a little bit of time. If this doesn't work, Barracks is dead, but I think it might just work. It's very, very close to reaching this.
Yeah, he's got the second sunken just starting now. A few seconds and it will finish up. There is just enough mutas to tank as well, so I actually think the window's completely evaporated. Action's done a pretty good job of weathering the storm that was potential, and he will be now to go to work on these bio units with these mutas, and he's going to be feeling pretty confident about his position. There's only one base Terran to really worry about. It's a lot more manageable for him to stay in a more low economy state when he's worrying about this. He'll only be able to produce 1 starport worth of vessels, and it will be a long time before those vessels are finished, so we can really go to work with these mutalisks right now.
I thought that we were going to have a lot more Marines available for Barracks, but yeah, you're right. There's hardly anything here, and maybe that's part and parcel of doing this kind of crazy factory across the map play, but maybe also a factor being that he had one of his SCVs just never mining inside the main base. Kind of crazy that Eric's is gonna get pulled apart here by just a standard Mutalist play with Sunken's back at home to just defend the bio ball. After such a crazy opening, it's gonna end in a very normal, natural way here.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, like, there's a little bit of a hiccup with that SUV. Maybe did put too much of a dent in his economy that he couldn't really, like, put on a strong showing here. He is still technically alive. He can put on a game. One base Terran is the strongest one base in the game. You can still pretty much do, like, 4 barracks, 1 starport, vessel production, just barely. It's, like, really skin of your teeth. You can just barely put out a pretty sizable army, but you do eventually need to expand, obviously. But for a while, you can, kind of make it work with just 1 base as Terran, especially if the Zerg's on 2. But as soon as Action's able to get up to the 3rd base, and he's please don't kill your own barracks. I mean, maybe he called himself barracks, so he remembers not to shoot his own barracks.
Well, maybe he's just hating on himself right now, and he wants to shoot himself. This is not going well, and I mean, he's just getting pulled apart. His factory goes down. That's annoying. It's not anything really fantastic right now, but I mean, he could have like floated that barracks into another corner of Action's base and tried to put on some more vulture pressure or something. He really needs something to help him out of this desperate position. The Irradiate is what he's going for, but as long as Action splits properly, and he is actually going to go after this. He has 2 Scourge. Yeah, he's going to kill this. Oh, wait a second.
I think
that did not go as planned.
Yeah, I think he thought the Scourge was closer and that he had it, and he just, he made the input to run away with the mutas afterwards. Does get the follow-up connections with the mutas, though, so he still gets the job done, but a lot less efficiency there, and took a bit more of a bruising on those mutas on the exit. So, yeah, slight compensation for barracks going forward, but honestly, I really don't think it's enough. Oh, it does manage to almost catch one of these mutas. There is not a lot of mutas made right now, just like 7 or so mutas, and one of them is heavily bruised. 2 of them are kind of like, 2/3 the way bruised, so have been softened up enough, but Lurkers are on the way. 2 Sunkens are finished. It's just barely enough bio to potentially break through this, but the Mutalist Micro will make this a more Zerg-favored trade. But yeah, Terran on paper could win that fight, but with the Micro of the Mutas and the body block of those Lurkers to deny surface area on those Sunkers, is just barely going to be enough to hold as these Lurkers finish up. But he will kill quite a few of those Mutas and Sunkens to get something here, but the Lurkers will just barely be in time.
Oh, the spread and split is pretty good, but with that many Lurkers, plus the assistance of the Mutas and Lings popping out, he will not be able to break through. You can hear the disappointment in the voices of our Korean commentators. They are just as sad as you or I that we're not going to be able to see Barracks take this game down, and we're not going to see a final game versus Queen. Action is just moments away from closing this out. Despite, almost breaking through there, he just does not have the economy to take this into a late game. As long as Zerg holds on, even a just barely hold is completely fine. We just need to hold.
Right.
That's it.
Yeah. I mean, it's almost like the only way you could lose is if like something fell on like Action's house or something, like a like a bomb or like a plane or jet engine or something, or the internet gets cut. Like the only way something unless he obviously just throws the game by like sacrificing his whole army and does something crazy. Like on paper, there's absolutely no reason that Action should lose this game at all. Like it's not even in the cards, I don't think.
No, there's a couple of like wild things that maybe Barracks could do, like build a dropship right now and try to drop in the main or something. But even that, there's enough army here from Action to hold the front and kill anything that could be dropped into the main. So there's really not much hope here. We're just kind of waiting for the tap out of Barracks. There's even Scourge now, and he's mining out the middle of the map so he can make a counterattack go across the map as well. Yeah, eventually Action is going to take this one, guys. Not really too much else to say. Barracks just kind of holding on, trying to get an expansion right now. He's going to lose a science vessel out as it's coming out towards to reinforce here, and that, I mean, that's just insult to injury. We're trying to slowly beat our way through this huge lurker stack with just 2 vessels.
Yeah.
There's like 5 lurkers being made right now. This is a losing battle.
He's opening up the middle lane as well, so if he wants to, he could like lurker, trick over 1 or 2 lurkers into the main base and be annoying later on and try and sneak some lurkers into the main base by drilling them over. It's also a possibility.
Yeah, he's going to move everything over towards the center pathway, and he's going to take a base as well. He's going to get the 3rd base online while attacking this direction. I don't think that Barracks is ready for this. He's mostly got his army on the right-hand side, and he doesn't have anything in view of those mineral patches in the middle. A dropship coming out. It's going to drop into the middle pathway. This might actually scout what Action's up to. Action's sending drones right now to try and mine that out, or just to try and hop things over. You can do it. Yeah, you can trick them over with just lurkers though, right? Burrowing and unburrowing, but he catches the lurkers, he sees them. He's going to move towards his 3rd. The lurkers are not in position. This is a nice little move by Barracks, but even with just the Lings coming forward, he's going to be able to clear this. That's a little bit depressing.
Yeah, it's really rough. You can't really get anything done. There's just so many lurkers up here that he can irradiate all day and he will never break through up at that natural, no matter how long he lays siege to it. Now we're going to see the 3rd gas finally come online, and there's not much he can do to stop that at the moment either. So he's going to try and go for it, though. He's going to try and break through. He does reposition the lurkers. He did have the fact that the lurkers are a little bit out of position going for him there, but Action was, very quick just to reshuffle the lurkers around and still just be kind of fine again. So no real craziness, but he does open up the position a tiny bit to maybe threaten another bust in a moment here. Maybe he can break through with an armor upgrade and taking 3 shots to kill from these lurkers. It is potential with a good enough split, maybe crazy enough positioning. He does want to try and get in there and snipe this gas, but he's losing so many of those Marines to those subterranean spines for his efforts, and he's not going to be able to get in there into that pocket. Those lurkers are positioned in such a way that it's just too costly to come in there to snipe that gas. Action's well aware of the Terran player wanting to snipe that.
Yeah, he's well aware, and he's just cutting off every different avenue of comeback for Barracks right now. He's got 2 lurkers over here stacked up just to make sure that Barracks doesn't mine through those patches and open up another pathway to attack him at his 3rd base. Defiler Mound is just about done, and that should spell the end, although Barracks has shown a resilience that I didn't expect from him.
Yeah, well, to be fair, Terran is the most resilient race, and yeah, 1-2 base Terran can get a lot done, Terran versus Zerg, so there is still a potential for Action to hang himself here, make a blunder that Barracks can capitalize on. Barracks is a very capable Terran versus Zerg player. If he does smell weakness in any metric, he might be able to seize that and flip the script on Action. But on paper, it should be an Action victory. But there is still that potential that, Action does something like a bit of a blunder here, or Barracks can create an opportunity to play with some dropships or what have you later on. It's just going to be a very tall order for Barracks to make a win out of this.
Absolutely. Barracks just going to keep getting value out of these vessels by irradiating the lurkers over and over, but that lurker number has swollen to a absolute massive spread. With the 4th gas coming online as well, it's not going to get any better. The defilers are about to start hitting the field. Again, more irradiates coming down here, but Action is completely fine weathering that storm, and he is 30 supply ahead now.
Yeah, and he's slowly making lurkers to replace the lurkers that are getting irradiated. He's keeping on track with how many irradiates are available to Barracks. You know what I mean?
Do we have any upgrades for the Marines yet? Because that's also going to become a huge factor. The lateness of the upgrades, whereas Action is definitely keeping up on those. He's got +1 armor already. If that armor ever gets ahead of the Terran attack with the Marines, it's devastating. Absolutely devastating.
Oh yeah, pretty much you have to be ahead to feel happy and even to not die, and as soon as those 2 things stop becoming a factor, you're probably in a lot of trouble, because yeah, your units kind of rely on being glass cannons, and if you take away the cannon element, they're just glass and absolutely shatter and get eviscerated by the Zerg.
Look at this. Action is starting to mine this out now. He's going to do a little counterattack while taking the base over on Barrack's side of the map and the base in the center left. He's not slowing down at all. He's making sure that he has a brilliant future in this game. He's actually doing the trick that you were talking about, what Flash did.
Yeah.
By trading minerals for gas over and over again. You can eventually mine through this. That's exactly what Action is going to do. He's going to open up a pathway for lurkers, defilers, and lings to make their way directly into the main. And Barracks is just not ready for this. He's all the way on the other side of the map, throwing down irradiates, and Action is just going to bust through.
Well, he even throws down like the preemptive Dark Swarm, even though he doesn't actually need it. It's like just showing like how like the potential of this attack is so devastating. Even if you did have some units there to try and shut this down, the Dark Swarm would just allow it to transpire nonetheless. Now going to be just littering some Cheeto dust in your main base. It's like when your friend passes you the controller, like, you want to play, bro, and it's like just covered in Cheeto dust there, and you don't want to get any of that nonsense on your hands.
He's just thrown that Cheeto dust right in his face. He's put it on his hand. He's just blown it right into his eyes. Barracks can't see anything anymore in his main base, and what he can see is just SCVs being destroyed. His main base just falling apart right now. If we don't see a tap out, I mean, Barracks is like trolling at this point, basically.
He starts lifting off his buildings, floats them into the corners of the map. He's like, mate, mutalisks. Be crazy.
Oh my gosh, here goes his base over at the center right. That's really the only last hope for Barracks, and GG is called. Action takes this one home. A bit of a anticlimactic week of KCM, Shun.
But eventful nonetheless, right?
Yeah, eventful. Definitely eventful. And we got to see the new maps, a glimpse there. It's hard to compare to that last week, though. Week 6 was just insane.
Yeah, I think the script writers basically used up all their budget, and now we've got one of those episodes where it's like, okay, we got to like lay off a little bit if we want to have dragons in the future episodes as well, guys. Like, let's chill over here.
The CGI budget?
Yes, the CGI budget coming into question, yeah.
Yeah, that's the way she goes, though, boys. That is what it is. Like, you can't have absolute insane mayhem, best of the year gameplay every single week of KCM. Sometimes we get a week like this where just a couple of games stand out, and for the most part, things go about as you would expect. Best pulled out some great games, honestly. I think he's the highlight of this week.
Yeah.
The way that he was able to take out Soul Key.
Well, he had a pretty lackluster
really
performance
impressive.
Recently, right? So it was nice to see him come out a little bit stronger and more his usual self this season. We haven't actually seen any good performances from Best really in any recent weeks. So finally seeing him back more like his usual self is a nice thing to see.
Absolutely. He did a great Arbiter play versus Sharp as well, right? Like,
yeah,
it was looking a little weak in the first couple of recalls, but he really pulled it together there at the end. Made it into a great game. Here's the point scores, guys. We've got Terran now in the lead, or still in the lead here, but Zerg actually catching up. Protoss once again flatlining. It's looking less like a fully contested finals like we were expecting from like week 4 and 5. Things were looking a lot closer, but now it's getting pretty clear that it's a race to the top for Zerg and Terran.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, Protoss cannot win anymore. They will be having to go into the semi-finals against either Terran or Zerg, and it's going to be wait a minute. If Zerg win next week and Terran comes second, they'll be joint on points. So how do they decide who will be in the semi-finals at then? Is there like a semi-finals, like a quarterfinals to decide that? What happens if they're even points?
You know what's hilarious, Shin? I have never seen this happen, but I've talked about it like a million times.
It could happen.
Guys who have been watching this for many seasons have heard me ramble about like, oh, the points, if this happens and that happens, then the points are going to be even, and what happens if it's if it's deadlocked on week 8. and it has never happened. So we've never figured it out. I'm not even gonna jinx it by talking about it because then maybe finally it'll actually occur. Yeah, we won't talk about it next
maybe
week.
That's
We'll
why
see what happens.
Maybe we got some further craziness happening in KCM if we do see that point system and the uplift nice and even after all said and done next week. If Terran comes first and if Zerg comes first and Terran comes second, we'll have to see what happens next. We might see quarterfinals just to play off for who gets the seed. Like I don't know.
Who knows? Only KCM will be able to decide that. Either way, it'll be fun if that does occur. I'm not expecting it to happen. I've talked about it so many times. Like I said, and it just never happens. Like Caster's Curse.
I want it to happen now, just so we can see what happens.
Yeah, I've been waiting for it for a long time, but just has not occurred. Anyways, guys, that's it for this week. Hope you guys enjoyed these matches. Make sure to go down to the link in the description. It's the first link. Go over to KCM's channel. Give him some love. Let him know that the English fans are watching and enjoying this season. Week 7 is done. Any last things to say, Ershun?
I just want you guys to have an absolutely fantastic weekend and keep it real.
All right. With that, we're out. See you next week, guys. Peace.
Thanks, guys.
All right. Nice and easy.
Nice and easy. But yeah, I want to see what happens with the draw. If it does happen.
Yeah. It is actually so true, man. So many times I've been like, oh dude, if Terran gets, this and Protoss goes last, we could get a draw. What's gonna happen? And then just never happens. Kind of hilarious.
Yeah, we actually have to see either an encore of I don't know, ace match, where you let both teams send out one player to decide who gets it, or a quarterfinal situation.
That's what I was imagining was a final ace match where they send out their best player after the games, you know?
That'd be one way of
And
quickly
just decide.
deciding it, rather than having to play out a whole another week of quarterfinals. Ace
Yeah,
match,
because I don't think
match.
they don't really have the time to play it a whole nother week, I don't think.
So I would imagine that probably would be the solution. I
Yeah.
imagine so.
I imagine. But
Yeah, good cast.
who knows? Yeah, it was a good cast. I don't think people are going to be as excited as last week, but I think that's to be expected.
I think it's important for us not to worry too much about the quality of the games. Just try and have fun with it, no matter what happens.
Right.
As long as we're having a fun time casting it, I think that will translate well into the entertainment value of the cast, nonetheless.
It's a good mindset to have. Yeah, I like that.
Yeah. It's
Sounds
like a
good to
comedian.
me,
If
man.
the comedian's having fun, maybe the audience is having fun too, right?
Right.
Well, I'm gonna shoot off in a minute and go chill out with my cousin because he came around.
All right, sounds good. I'm just editing this out.
All right, broski. Well,
All right, man.
nice casting with you as always.
You too, dude.
You have a great weekend, my guy.
Have a nice, have a nice night.
Yeah, you take it easy, buddy.
Talk to you later.
Thanks for watching, guys. I'll catch you on the flippy flip.